Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks. And last week I finished 4 books that I want to tell you about. So the first one was Light After Dark by Marie Force. This is a book that I read as an ebook because I don't like the narrator. And it's book 16 in the Gansett Island series, and now I'm caught up and I don't have to read any more. And so, yeah, that's done. Marie Force is a great romance writer. She writes adult romance, and the books are very formulaic, but it's kind of nice because she changes up the details a little bit book to book, and I always enjoy them. They're quick reads and perfect for summer. So caught up with that one. And then I picked up Trusting You and Other Lies by Nicole Williams. This is narrated on audio by Georgina Marie, and it was an ARC that I received from Penguin. And it is YA contemporary. I thought it was going to be new adult contemporary because I thought that's what Nicole Williams writes. Well, you know, foolish me thinking an author only writes one genre, which whenever is that true? But this was good. This was about a young girl named Phoenix, and she and her family go to a camp for the summer. Now, her dad's been out of work for 2 years, and her mom and dad are increasingly becoming estranged from each other. The family's still intact, but dad's, you know, kind of off the deep end. Mom's kind of trying to deal with her own issues. And so as a result, Phoenix and her younger brother, who is 10, she's 17, he's 10, she's been taking care of him for a while. And so there are several instances in the book where she is speaking with her parents, and she'll say, well, if you had stepped up as a parent. And normally I don't like those kinds of situations in these kinds of books, but I felt like she was really justified. Her parents did just check out and kind of left everything to fall to her in terms of taking care of herself and her little brother. And her dad decides that they're going to spend the summer at this camp owned by a friend of his. And so Phoenix just thinks, great, you know, I could have been with my friends. This is the summer before my senior year of high school. Thanks, Dad, you know. And to be honest, it was not that hard to put myself in her place and think, I'd be mad too. Well, the book is all about trust issues. It's all about lies of omission. And did you really lie or did you not? Do you trust me or don't you? Is trust a black or white thing? Is it a gray thing? Is it it's complicated thing? It was a good look at that kind of a situation, you know, in the context of a young adult contemporary book, which is a romance that she has with one of the guys that works there at the camp. It's pretty good. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I thought that I would have loved it more had I been a high school kid, because I would have identified more strongly with the main character. But, you know, good story, and I have to say really well narrated. Georgina Marie was great. She was really great. She was able to really capture Phoenix's voice and really the tone of the whole book. So I really liked it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. On Second Thought is by Kristan Higgins. It is a standalone, and it's adult chick lit / romance, more on the women's fiction side of chick lit than the romance side. It's narrated on audio by Exie Sands and Amy Rubinate, and I buddy read this with my pal, my best bud, Lisa from Books and Smiles, and I listened to it. She read it as an ebook, and then I also grabbed the ebook and kind of flipped through. Actually, I finished it yesterday, and I flipped through and kind of reread some of the highlights. This book has a more morose tone to it than a lot of Kristan Higgins' other books. Not that any of her books are overly happy. One of her taglines on her website is that she'll make you laugh, then make you cry, and then make you laugh again. And I think that in some cases that's true. In this case, it was she made you cry, and then she made you cry some more, and then she lightened it up a little bit, and then she made you cry with, oh, kind of tears. This was hard. This kind of wrecked me for a little bit of my week because I get so emotionally invested in the story. And this is about Kate, who is married for 4 months. She's 39 years old, and then she's widowed. Her husband has a freak accident where he trips and hits his head and is he dies instantly. So she hasn't been married for very long, and this was something she never expected to happen in her life. And so now she's a widow. So what does she do? Her half-sister is named Ainsley. Now, this is a really interesting twist in this story. I thought this was really a smart move on Kristan Higgins' part. Ainsley is the daughter of the woman that Kate's dad left her mother for. So Kate's mom and dad were married, then they got divorced, and he married Ainsley's mom. Then Ainsley's mom died in a car accident when Ainsley was 3. So he went back to his first wife. So Kate and Ainsley are half siblings, but Ainsley was actually raised by her stepmother because her mother died, and her stepmother took her dad back again. So they got married again, and so it's really strange. But anyway, Ainsley is in a relationship with her high school, I think he's her college sweetheart for 11 years, and he kind of goes off the deep end, and she thinks he's going to propose one night, and instead he dumps her. And I thought that she was kind of deluded. I thought, I don't know about this character, but boy, as things went along, I began to love Ainsley so much because she was one of those people that's optimistic, predictably happy, knows how to handle people, you know, always has the perfect response, the kind of response that, you know, I would love to have, and like maybe I will respond to someone off the cuff and then I'll go back and think about it and I'll think, man, I wish I had said, you know, one of those kind of people who always says the right thing. Well, she's a fictional character, so of course she always says the right thing. But I loved her. I loved her. She was a great character. Now, these two narrators, Exie Sands and Amy Rubinate, I like Exie Sands a lot, but she is very distinct in her style. You always know it's her narrating. She has a very kind of wry tone in the way that she interprets the story. And so some people don't like that. I do like it. But I do think that because she has that style, her characters tend to all sound the same, which is really kind of okay, actually, because they're different enough book to book. She does a lot of Kristan Higgins books, and she does a lot of other romance writers' books too. But the point being, it's okay that she is the way she is. Even though things tend to sound the same, she can change it up enough that it's okay. And then Amy Rubinate, I have not liked in a long time, and it's because of the way, I don't know, it's an inflection that she has and kind of a breathiness to her voice. But you know what? I sped her up. Now, this was annoying because I went between 1.25 speed for Exie Sands, and then when it would flip to Ainsley's perspective, which was voiced by Amy Rubinate, I would speed it up to 1.5 the speed. And that was kind of a hassle, but not that much of a hassle. It was okay. And I really liked Amy Rubinate. I couldn't believe it. That's probably one of the reasons I liked the character of Ainsley so much, was because I liked the way Amy Rubinate voiced her. So overall, the narration, I would give very high marks. I'm really surprised to say that, but you know, I think I'm going to give another of Kristan Higgins' books a try. I have not read another one of her books. I can't remember which one it is. It's the one where you see the person holding the flowers and they're pointing downwards, but that's narrated by Amy Rubinate, and I'm going to give it a try because I think, you know, she's pretty good at 1.5 the speed. So, you know, it'll save that narration for you sometimes, speeding it up. It's amazing how that works. But anyway, so I gave that book 4.5 stars because by the time I got to the end, I thought, oh man, this was so good. But I didn't give it 5 because it just was so sad for so much of it. I mean, it was bad things were happening to these people and really horribly difficult emotional situations that just really affected me. I suppose that maybe that's the good mark, or that's the mark of a really good book, maybe a 5-star book, but I just couldn't do it. I thought this was too sad. The tone was too dark for me to give it that really high mark. So 4.5 stars, but I'm rounding it down to 4. So, but I do really, boy, if you like Kristan Higgins, if you like chick lit at all, this is a great book. It's a really great book. Then I picked up The Wishing Season by Denise Hunter. which I have right here. This is Christian fiction. It's book 3 in the Chapel Springs series, which is set in my home state of Indiana, and I think that Denise Hunter is local to Indiana. This was a book that I picked up at Goodwill a long time ago and had never read, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to because it looks like wintertime, but the book takes place over the course of a year. It's Christian fiction, and so I was interested in that, thinking, you know, I always want to give a good Christian fiction book a try because I read so much romance, and so that's what this is. And this is about PJ and Cole, who see an advertisement for a property that they both want to use for different purposes. She wants to open a B&B, and he wants to open a home for kids, foster kids who are in transition. They've aged out of the system, but they're still in high school and they're not ready to go out and be on their own or in college yet or that kind of thing. So they have nowhere to go. He was a foster kid to whom this happened, and so he has a real heart for that. He is a contractor. He does window installation, kind of handyman stuff, and so the benefactor, the woman who owns the house, can't decide who she wants to award the house to. So she says, you have to share it for a year. And when the year is up, we'll come back and make a decision as to who gets awarded the house. So, of course, they fall in love. Of course they do. And this just lacked grit. You know, it fell into that same problem that I seem to have with a lot of Christian fiction, and that is simply that it just doesn't have enough grit. Now, the fact that it's a clean romance, doesn't really have anything to do with it. What has to do with it is the depth of conflict into which the author is willing to go when it comes to illustrating their situations. This main character of PJ was kind of a spoiled brat. She came from a great family. She did have a brother who died at 17, so her family had gone through that, but they love God. They've gone to church forever. They love their kids. I mean, it's a big family of like five or six kids. And, you know, she was kind of spoiled. I mean, she looked at Cole, a former foster kid who's now 26 years old, with, you know, a wary eye, like, well, I don't know where you've been. Really didn't even give him a chance. And then she falls for him, and then she's all about, you know, oh, he's so great. And I wanted to go, wait a minute. You know, I just didn't like that. And then he didn't have enough rough edges, to be honest. I mean, there wasn't enough of that. I grew up as a foster kid, then I got kicked out, and then I had to fend for myself, and I've had a hard life. There was not much of that going on. I think this author depended a whole lot on the idea that Cole was an orphan at 12, and he felt like it was his fault. His family was killed in a car accident, and he lived, and he felt like the reason that the car accident happened was his fault. And so he carries that, and he makes decisions about their relationship based on that. I'm not good enough for her. She deserves better. I'm going to get out of her life. I hate that with such a passion, with the passion of 1,000 suns. Why do characters do that? Why do authors take characters and create conflict that way? I just think it's such a cop-out. Such a cop-out. I don't, no. He just made the separations happen in the relationship because he didn't think that he was good enough for her. And then she had another situation where she felt like she was stupid. She had to prove herself to her family, and that just didn't go far enough. So, you know, that bugged me. I think it just needed more grit. I wish that I could find an author of Christian fiction who was willing to do that, who is willing to give it the grit that it needs in the conflict that happens in the story, so that the story is much better, much richer, and you care about these characters a lot more. One thing that did happen in this book that I liked was the fact that PJ's mom doesn't trust Cole, and she makes a whole lot of judgments about him based on not anything, really. She doesn't know him, and she just, you know, has all these preconceived notions, and that has a positive ending. So I felt like that was a good thing to throw in there. But overall, I was disappointed. Daggone it. When am I going to find a Christian book with some oomph to it, you know, some grit? So I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, but I rounded it up to 3 because it wasn't a bad book. I think there were some references in it also to the series at large, and I didn't get those references because this is book 3. So I don't know. I suppose there's a temptation there, a little bit of a temptation to go back and read books 1 and 2, but I don't know that I'm all that interested. If this is what I'm going to get, then I think, I don't know. I don't know. So that was last week. I finished this late last night. And then I picked up on audio, I was in the mood for some more romance, so I picked up That Wedding by Jillian Dodd. This on audio is narrated by Lisa Cordelieone, who is magnificent. Oh, I love this narration so much, so much. This character of Jaden is just priceless. This is the second book in the That Boy series, and That Boy was a book that I read earlier this year and absolutely loved. Just absolutely loved. This is a character, this main character, that you cannot help but love. She's just adorable. So this is, I guess you'd call it adult romance, but the main character is in her mid-20s, so you might even call it new adult. It's just, and this is all about, the second book is all about the wedding that she is planning to her best friend that has, he proposes to her at the end of book 1 and she says yes, so this is that. So I was in the mood for a kind of lighthearted romance, so I picked that up. I've also started The Rise and Fall of D.O.D.O by Neal Stephenson, and that person that I can't remember, I want to say Galland or something like that. I'll put her name here on the screen, and apologies to this author that I can't seem to remember her name, but she is a co-author with Neal Stephenson of this, and it's narrated by an entire cast, and I'm not very far into it, but it's interesting. It's about science and ancient languages and magic, and how science and magic are kind of the same thing. It's really kind of interesting. It's a little bit witty. It's kind of light. It's not what I expected, but I'm not very far into it. So I've been listening for about an hour or so, and I think it's a 19-hour book. But I'm further into it than an hour because I listen to it faster. So I'm also, in lieu of picking something up on my iPad, I'm going to get into this. I'm a little ways through this. I'm this far. I'm this far done with this, and I'm going to get that far. This is What I Thought Was True by Huntley Fitzpatrick, and I had put this down on audio because I didn't like the narrator. So I'm going to pick it up in print and see if I can finish it, just because I started it and I own it, so I really need to finish it. So I'm going to do that this week. I've been reading at night before I go to sleep, so I'm hopefully going to be able to finish that. And that is my week ahead, and my week previous, and my weekend. It is July in Indiana here. Man, it's hot. It is hot and humid, and I am in absolute heaven. I love this weather. Love this weather. I get to go to the beach in about 2 weeks, so I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, that's really about it. So if you've read any of these books, talk to me in comments. Let's have a great discussion there. I love talking to you guys in comments. I really do. I always enjoy that. We always have great discussions. Plus, you know what a yakety yak I am. Yeah. Anyway, let's do that and have a great weekend and a great week ahead. And I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.